It is so early in the morning. Mostly it's 7:30, but mostly because I was up until like midnight trying to plan out the hike for today. The initial plan was to go with a group of friends to Maple Loop Pass, which is probably one of the most popular Washington fall hikes, especially around this time, like late September, the first week of October, because that's when the larches are at their full bloom. They're like these golden pine trees that are just stunning. So the idea was to go see them at Maple Loop Pass. I was talking to my friends and asked if they still wanted to do this on a Saturday because it is immensely popular. And they said they did it last year and had no problem just rolling in and finding parking. And I was like, I tried to do this last year. We also tried to do Cutthroat Pass across the street, and both trailheads had a line of cars on the highway 1 to 3 miles out, which not safe to park there, not safe, and people were walking on the highway, and the trail must have been super crowded. But they said, no, it was no problem, so I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and give it a go. Maple Loop is also more of a difficult hike than some of the other stuff that we've done. It is 7.2 miles and about 2,000 feet elevation gain. So I was excited to push myself to do this with friends. I feel like I push myself a lot more with hikes when I'm with other people than when I'm with by myself. But they actually double checked the mileage and the hike, and they were like, oh, actually, we don't think we could do this. So not a problem. So then last night the scramble was on to try and find a different hike for larches or for fall colors. The issue with finding larches is that they're at a high elevation, so you usually have to drive out pretty far and hike up a lot. A lot of the hikes that I was seeing were like 8 miles, 2,000, 3,000 elevation gain. Like there are some dream hikes of mine, like Wing Lake or Twisp Pass, that look stunning, but I'm just not at a physical capability to do that yet, or they're actually more considered backpacking trails. There was a mention of Artist Point. Now, I have no idea if we're gonna see larches, but Artist Point is beautiful and we should get some fall colors. A lot of options that I found were either out in the middle of nowhere, like 4, 5, 6 hours out, or very extensive hikes. So I haven't confirmed, but I think we're doing Artist Point today. I did mention another hike that is closer, but I don't believe that one has any larches. So all I know is that today we're going to do some sort of beautiful nature hike. I need to finish packing. I'm glad I charged everything last night, like my Zolio. So no matter where we go, we can be found. When I was here last year, it was worse than this. This is actually pretty
last
okay.
time, it was just like this, and you were freaking out because we were gonna go down, like Blue Lake is further down from Maple Lake.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my God, what if it's like this? And it was, but when we got there,
I like that my brain like deletes certain things. Gosh, I just have lovely memories.
See, like this is where I don't want to hike. If there's this many people, I don't want to do it.
The trail's gonna be so crowded. Next week they'll all be lit up with golden larches. gosh, they're so cute. Thank you. So refreshing. It has been a couple days since I've done my little hiking adventure with my friends in the Northern Cascades, and I just wanted to kind of sit down and talk about Larches, hikes, and that region in general. So we did wind up going to Cutthroat Lake, which if you are a beginner and want to really check out the Larches and try something really approachable, I would definitely suggest doing that. We went to the Larches the last weekend of September, and a bunch of places that I've seen, they usually schedule their Larch March hikes the first week of October, so we were probably about a week early. The reason we went at this time is because of everybody's schedules just lining up. I saw a couple blogs saying that the best time to go is the first weekend of October, and last year when I went and they were super golden, it was October 6th. So that lined up perfectly. It is quite a drive to this section of Washington State from Seattle. To get to Diablo Lake and Maple Loop Pass is about 2.5 to 3 hours. So I would also suggest getting some lodging, the problem is there are not that many big towns. You probably will still have to drive an hour to these trails. So I guess on the west, your closest really big city is gonna be like Burlington, Sedro-Woolley. You'll start to get little towns across Highway 20. I've stayed in the Concrete Rockport area a time or two, and then on the other side, a section I haven't explored as much but I've heard really great things about is like Twisp and Winthrop, and those towns being kind of like cute old western towns. So if you don't want to expel all of your energy in one day with 6 hours of driving, and depending on your hike, many miles of uphill hiking, I would probably suggest like an overnight in the region. Cutthroat Lake is 3.8 miles. I think like 400 elevation gain. The elevation gain is not that crazy. It is different from Cutthroat Pass. Cutthroat Pass is right across the street from Maple Loop, and it is 10 miles, 2,000 feet elevation gain, and you are on top of the mountain. I've heard really fantastic things about this view, but it is a hard hike. After we did Cutthroat Lake, we went to Rainy Lake, which is the same parking lot as Maple Loop, but by the time we got there around 4, there were more openings. I can understand why the parking lot gets filled up really quickly because it is quite a small parking lot, and I can't emphasize enough, if you are able to do these hikes not on a weekend, you will probably miss out on a huge amount of crowds. But when we got there around 4, we were able to walk the mile in on this very flat and paved road to Rainy Lake. There weren't really any larches at Rainy Lake, but there was the start of some like nice goldeny fall foliage there, and it was just a really pretty easy hike to kind of complement our day with like Cutthroat. I would definitely also recommend pulling off to the Washington Pass observation area. Very short walk, most of it paved. It gives you these stunning views of the Liberty Bells and the early winter spires. Really stunning. You could get away with not hiking the area and still get really fantastic views. A lot of viewpoints of Diablo Lake are driving access. You just park and bam, beautiful lake. And like I said, the Washington Pass as well as Rainy Lake is a very easy hike, 2 miles round trip, mostly paved and flat. You probably won't see larches though. So in terms of larches, I have done so much research about different hikes, and I really think that some of the most spectacular photos are very intense hikes. People overnight them. It's a lot of elevation gain. So I would say that Cutthroat is probably the easiest one to get through to. I've done Clara and Marion Lakes in Wenatchee. That one, I think if you really just want to go see the trees themselves, that's a easy hike, but I wasn't blown away by it, and it's also 2.5 hours from Seattle. Some of the crazy places people post about seeing larches are like Wing Lake, that's about 10 miles, the Enchantments, that is a 20-mile through hike, of course Maple Loop, and Twips Pass and Cutthroat Pass, like I spoke about before, which is 10 miles, 2,000 feet elevation gain. Another one that is definitely on my list for next year is Blue Lake. It's 4.5 miles, 1,000 feet elevation gain, so not as intense as some of these other hikes. It's just on the other side of Maple Loop Pass, and when we drove by it, it also had quite the busy parking lot, so may also be popular as well. But that's in the Highway 20 region. I will definitely be putting that on my list for next year because that is completely doable for me at this time and this fitness level. I also heard really good things about Lake Ingalls. That is 9 miles and 2,000 feet elevation gain. That one's kind of on the other side of Leavenworth. So yeah, I think those are going to be kind of like some ideas in terms of how to see larches. So here are your takeaways. First week of October. If your starting point is in Seattle, you are most likely going to have to drive 2.5 hours to get to any of these great locations. And depending on the hike that you do or the type of person you are, it may be best to do an overnight. Most of these hikes are going to be a lot of elevation gain and a lot of mileage. Number 4, go on a weekday if you can, especially to Maple Loop Pass. That I can't stress that enough. That is my game plan for next year. And number 5, consider doing a backpacking trip. Some of these are long enough and have backpacking as an option. I hope this was helpful and informative in terms of hiking to see the golden larches. Next year, I hope to be a bit more successful, though I did have a fun time hanging out with my friends in nature as usual and checking out some beautiful lakes and stunning vistas. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I want to say happy travels from me to you and get home safely. Bye guys.